hell. Turns out you got to have the mic on to actually record. Imagine that. Anyways, hope you had a great Easter. This Sunday night report will be public to everyone, so it'll be uploaded to YouTube. You won't need that private link. Of course, if you want to see these in the future, make sure you check out the Substack or join the Discord subscription where we share these private links. Wink links, yeah, every weekend for everyone. And if you missed last week's recap, make sure to check out that live stream that is on the YouTube. Some great content over there. We covered the Elon news. We covered what's going on at Twitter. By the way, Twitter did go with that poison pill. We might talk about that later in our briefing. Anyways, let's go ahead and hop in the economic data and what we got coming up this week. So last week, people were saying maybe I dwell a little too long on these. So let's just hop right into it. We had the IMF World Bank spring meetings on Sunday and Monday. And I believe actually these should be occurring the whole week, right? Yeah, the whole week. And it looks like Thursday is going to be the big one where Jerome Powell will be speaking to this. And there might be some debates over the global world outlook. This is pretty much just like the big banks getting together, big central banks all over the world, and saying how their country's doing, how they expect the world to go. Overall, should be pretty bearish for all the reasons that we've been iterating for, 6 months now, 4 months now, 3 months now. Yeah, anyways, got a little exaggerative there, but you get it. We got bond auctions. It'll be interesting to see how these go with all the movements in the Japanese dollar. I don't expect big changes, but it could catch the market off guard. It's not anything that I can anticipate really, but housing starts, I do expect this data to kind of continue down to the downside, although it's continued to be kind of stronger than we expect. As you can see, the forecast is a negative. Same with the building permits. So then we have our red book or 52-week auctions. Fed Evans speaks. Remember, anytime these members are speaking, I expect this to be really bearish and then to be hawkish. More speeches, mortgage applications, yada, yada, yada. None of this is going to have real big impact on the markets. Initial jobless claims, these could be interesting. Probably going to come right in a consensus, so I wouldn't expect any surprises there. Of course, this is a surprise. It's a surprise for a reason. More speaking, I expect that to be negative, but the big ones here are these two Fed Powell speeches. It's going to be early in the day. The market will probably expect these to be really bearish, and we might see something about, that 50 base point rate hike, which I do anticipate to come through. And actually, it looks like these meetings are just for this week. Yeah, okay. So next week, we don't have any of those. Of course, we'll go over next week. So that's what's on my mind. That's what I'm looking for. I'm going to expect these to be pretty bearish. We'll probably put out some shorts about these if there's anything interesting mentioned. I do pay attention to them. And that's about all there is to say on that. Let's go ahead and head over to the company earnings. Okay, so actually before we go into the company earnings, I just want to pull this over so we can get a look at this because I hadn't looked at this actually yet. And it looks like we've got a gap down in the futures. And this is probably from the global meeting because when I'm looking here, it looks like the dollar futures are spiking. This is probably anticipation of the global economies not doing well. When they don't do well, they tend to then buy up the US dollar to try and hedge that. And so we're also seeing gold spike as well. So this is pretty interesting already from the get-go. So before we go into the company earnings, the reason I pulled this up is like we have a lot of bank earnings that are going to be coming in tomorrow morning. And just look at these earnings that we've seen so far. And I could pull up TSM right here. And we talked about this a little bit on the live stream on Friday, but we're seeing these boosts from good reports and then immediate sell-offs afterwards. This is probably due to outlook, guidance, and just markets not doing well. Now, one of the things that is interesting, though, is that, companies like Tesla do seem to have some sort of a spike coming into Monday. And I do want to pull up Netflix here. And if I could remember the Netflix ticker, NFLX. And just to see how this is doing. This is having a sell-off too. This could be a hotly debated one, but we'll talk about that in a moment. I just wanted to touch on that. We'll touch on it again in the briefing, but just recognize this. Good expectations in the earnings, a little bit of a run-up. Then we get that pop because of good news, but then an immediate sell-off. And if you are following the Discord, we did enter in puts yesterday, actually on Friday, and to close, they're up 50%. If this gap down holds, that could be a quick 100% play returns right there. So anyways, let's go ahead and hop over and talk about these earnings this week. All right, so wrapping right back around to earnings. Holy cow, that felt like a mouthful for no reason. We have Bank of America and Charles Schwab. early in the morning. Charles Schwab's been a really interesting one. I actually want to pull this up real quick. We can see it sold off on a Friday. But if you just look at how volatile this stock's been lately, this is just because of how interesting this environment is. Remember, this company makes most of their earnings off their cash. So they benefit the most disproportionately from other banks from increasing interest rate hikes. So if we see these continue to play out, this stock should outperform. But when you look at it, this is crazy volatility for a stock like this. If we span out to the 3-year graph, we can even see like this is not a company that usually gets wild pivots like this. So it'll be interesting to see how that one continues to play out. There might be actually some opportunities for options over here depending on the liquidity. If you're in the Discord, you can always check in with us on that and see what we think. Anyways, gonna pan this out here. Kind of just continue to scan through for the earnings. I don't see really anything else on Monday that catches my eye. We're gonna go ahead and hop over to Tuesday. Johnson & Johnson, Netflix, Lockheed Martin should be an interesting one. And actually, let's go ahead and pull that up over here and see how that performance has been as of late. Yeah, just straight up. No surprises here. I think this stock will be persistently high. Looks like it wants a pullback. Could see a little bit of a pullback after earnings, or it could shoot up higher because of how well they're probably doing with all the with everything that's going on. Sorry, I paused because I'm looking at this. It looks like a COVID crash and then a big dip here. Big dips on earnings. Now that's interesting. So we can see the big pullbacks are common though for this stock. And as it pushes to a new high, could be due for another pullback. Just off technicals. Anyways, we need better mapping on that. Netflix is a really interesting one. So what's going on with Netflix? Netflix has been rough the past few earnings. A lot of people are saying, okay, this company's reached the amount of exposure that they're going to globally. So growth is going to be pretty rough. They've tried to extend their IPs by getting into video games and stuff, but we haven't seen that really play out yet, right? But they're still spending money on this development. As far as new shows go, nothing's really entering my mind anecdotally. As for like what I've been watching, and I've actually been watching more TV as of late. By the way, check out Moon Knight on Disney. That show's great. Anyways, I do expect some roughness for Netflix into earnings. Maybe some more pullbacks. We'll see if people have been, kind of pivoting here and there. Remember, Apple TV's got a bunch of new shows coming out. They've been big competitors, and they've been underpricing everyone at like $4.99 or $5.99, something like that. So super cheap and very viewable, watchable TV over there. They make good shows. Johnson & Johnson is Johnson & Johnson. It's healthcare. They're probably doing pretty well with all the COVID stuff, but we're going to actually talk about that in our briefing today. Kind of scrolling through here. Hasbro. That's an interesting name. Not anything that brings anything to my attention, anything I've been keeping an eye on. That's about it for Tuesday. Let's hop over to Wednesday, and boom, there's the big name, Tesla. I expect Tesla to run up into earnings. Tesla is going to have the least amount of supply chain issues, although eventually these issues will hit them just like everyone else, and the lithium war will take off, and Tesla could have more issues than they have had previously. So that's something that we're going to need to keep in the back of our mind, is that the industry as a whole is going to do pretty poorly. Now, when it comes to playing this sector, I'll go ahead and throw this in here. I also don't know why my hair is such a mess. I just caught that corner of my eye. Sorry. When it comes to playing this sector, I like playing Tesla on the upside, hate playing Tesla on the downside. Yes, there's a lot of liquidity. Yes, we get big moves. But I just love playing the other companies to the downside. And, like Rivian still has a crazy evaluation despite the lack of production that they've actually put out. Lucid still carries this premium in its pricing and its market cap. I like shorting those stocks. Don't really like shorting Tesla. All it takes is a few Elon tweets to blow you out of that trade. Even the technical analysis there, even if the move looks big, I'd rather short the market. I think the market has a higher beta. If there's a bunch of downside in the market as a whole, Tesla will bring it down. I like shorting SPY, and then I like playing Tesla to upside. That's just how I like to handle that. I'm just going to throw that out there. That's the way that's what I'm doing. Anyways, Lam Research is an interesting one. Good to keep an eye on them. When the semiconductor Anthem, it's just health. I don't even really have anything to really say about Anthem. I don't even know why it drew my attention. Okay. Scrolling down here, see if anything really catches my eye. Anything else I want to comment on? Not really. Let's go to page 2. Kind of see what we got going on here. And none of these are catching my eye. Of course, if I miss anything, or there's a company you want to hear about, put it in the comments down below. If you're in the Discord, yell at me about it. Hey, what do you think about this company, though? And I'm usually always hanging out in the Discord on Sunday nights anyway. So if you hit me with something, I'll look into it. Snapchat. My poor Snapchat. So I like Snapchat. And we can see the consensus is negative here. And that's what it means if it's in parentheses. Personally, I like Snapchat. I like Snapchat as a company. I was kind of complaining about them on Twitter, and it's hard not to. If I was a big activist investor, I'd be down their throats trying to figure out what in the world this company's been doing. Because what in the world have they been doing? Where is anything new coming out? What happened to the showcasings that they were doing for to get new people on the platform to kind of be a TikTok competitor? That's kind of all fallen through. A lot of the hype is falling out, and they're not doing anything new. They kind of fell dead flat on AR technology. I can only hope that they're working on projects in the background, but the lack of reports and news out of this company, the lack of developments that they've been doing kind of makes me think that the earnings are not going so hot. So I think on a big sell-off, the stock could become a decent buy, although I'm a little bit more worried about and bearish on Snapchat than I have been in the past. A little more bearish than I felt in a few years, actually. Really disappointed with the lack of news or reports coming out of Snapchat. So just something to keep in mind as a big Snapchat advocate. I use that app all the time, every day. So we got AT&T. AT&T, this company looks like it's going down a toilet. They picked up the HBO, but what's going on with HBO? Why does HBO have 4 different names for this nonsense? Why? It's so annoying and absolutely preposterously stupid. Whatever, you know what I'm saying. It's just, it's mind-boggling. I don't know what they're doing. Whoever let that fall apart really fumbled the ball on that nonsense. And as for everything else going on here, nothing's really catching my eye. And I don't really have anything to say about AT&T other than I just like to complain about how stupid the marketing is for HBO at this point. And maybe they could make a comeback with the new Game of Thrones series, but there's too much else that's just stagnant at that company for me to be excited about anything. And I don't see anything here for the rest of these company earnings. We're going to go ahead and hop over to Friday. Verizon, none of the telecommunications companies excite me. So let's kind of look through here. And yep, we're going to call it. That is our earnings for the week. I don't see anything on Friday. So let's kind of hop over to our briefing. COVID. That's right. We're going to talk about COVID. I know how much people hate talking about COVID, but there's been a lot of reports recently from the Wall Street Journal, and Vanity Fair put out a big report, and people really aren't talking about it. But, we got this big thing going on in China. Some people are speculating that it'll become big news elsewhere. But actually, if you tune into what's going on at the FDA, we're seeing a lot of upper officials and people on the advisory board leave with their jobs. And some of them are saying they're being harassed to push more boosters, but they themselves aren't taking the boosters and telling their kids not to, etc. Anyone who's not immune deficient to not take it. And that's worth mentioning. And I feel like no one's really mentioning it, but could see some pullback on these health stocks if this news becomes, more front page. And it's interesting because the newest variant isn't very well protected by the vaccines. And even Fauci came out and said there won't be another vaccine. We don't need another vaccine. So, that's a big 180. That's a big sentiment change in the way that people are reacting to COVID. And it makes China even more starkly stand out as like a weird reaction in comparison to the rest of the world, which has kind of like moved on and kind of sees this as old news. So, I mean, when it comes to the booster stuff, people stop getting boosters. That's, less money in these companies' pockets. So that's worth throwing out there as far as the COVID thing's concerned. And when it comes to what's going on with Twitter and Elon Musk, Twitter's now doing the poison pill. So, I mean, their board of directors is just saying, hey, sue us. Please sue us. I mean, that's basically what they're doing. They're saying, we want to be sued. Sue the shit out of us. And I mean, that's just what's going on there. They're definitely going to get sued for this. And it's hurting the share price. These board of directors are not doing anything. Let's first reconfirm what your job is as you're a director on the board of a company. Your job is to benefit the shareholders. Elon came in and said, I want to pay 30% over what this company goes for. 30% over. And actually, let's pull this up real quick and just kind of really paint a picture here. When we're looking at Twitter, you're on the board and someone comes in and they say, hey, I want to give you 30% over what this stock's going for, $50. We can see this high. Now, this could be easily written off as like, well, everything was high because of COVID, right? So, because of the COVID stimulus. He wants to give you a price above this. The poison pill, mind you, says that if anyone accumulates over 50% of shares, they can then exercise option contracts to dilute the stock price intentionally so they can buy shares for much cheaper to make a buyout less likely and to hurt the buyout contenders. Now, if they were actually acting in the interest of shareholders, as is their fiduciary duty, they would never do this. They would shop around for different buyouts from other companies and not do this poison pill thing. This is completely immoral on their part and ridiculous. And it only, in my opinion, will bring people closer to Elon. People will be flocking over to his side to say, look, these people really are not responsible or just clean actors in general. And to me, this is ludicrous to see, disappointing on all accounts. I don't like to be overly negative, but I thought that maybe there'd be some people on this board that would be clean actors. But, we covered it on Friday that, we got a Saudi prince who's a major shareholder, BlackRock, Vanguard. These people love power. And a lot of people at the board of directors don't even have big stock interests in the stock. So they're not even big shareholders. So they don't even have the right incentives to do what's right for shareholders of the company. And there can't be a big vote by all the shareholders either because they're not lining that up. So we can't even get a sentiment read from stockholders of Twitter. And so people have been asking me in the Discord, like, do you think it's a good time to buy if the buyout goes through? But, it was mentioned actually on a podcast I was listening to that also covered some of this, which I don't think they had a harsh enough reaction. But they were also mentioning, Activision should have shot up. We got the news, the Microsoft buyout, but look what's happened. The stock market is really good at pricing buyouts. If the buyout is likely to occur, the stock price will immediately shoot up to that buyout price. We saw Twitter barely touch and immediately sell off. This is a sentiment read from the market that this is unlikely to happen. So I would just follow that. If you're unsure, I would just follow that. Let that read it for you. I mean, I think that this will sell off now that we've got the poison pill set up. They're going to try and take this stock. And it's just disappointing to see because why would you be against free speech like that? I've literally seen reports of people saying that we need to restrict free speech to support democracy. Like there's no historical precedent for this whatsoever. These people are out of their freaking minds. It is absolutely ludicrous. And to me seems almost nefarious because, You can't be an intelligent human being and not recognize that free speech is the groundwork for democracy. You just can't. It just doesn't make sense. And Stryker's here, and he was getting kind of upset. He was like, I can't believe them. Isn't that right, Stryker? It's so ridiculous. Huh? Isn't that right? So, yeah, I just want to touch on those two things. Those are going to be big stories. Probably going to hear more about them in the future. And that includes Activision as well. Probably hear more about that in the future. Another thing interesting there is they want to do NFTs. And those could be interesting as well. And then hopping over to oil, we've seen oil spike in the pre-market. And this trade's been playing out well. We talked about it on Friday. We're seeing it climb up more. I was kind of wondering if this would actually gap down over the weekend over some reports that China might be doing a more widespread lockdowns. This will lower demand excessively, but this continued climb might actually mean that the squeeze in prices internationally might be a lot worse than was originally anticipated. And so great for me. I'm in options and holds positions in this. And we're in the money now. If we open an 81, I had $80 calls set up at the beginning of this month. And we can pull up like a 20-day here. So we had these set up down here. Actually down here. We actually set these up on the 7th. So yeah, it went great. Only one small dip here. I was totally fine holding it. And then boom, we got our $10 move, $80 calls. We were in the money on Friday. I decided, we have so much time on these to go to the 29th. I'm like, all right, continue to go. I'll probably start taking profits this week on those. And we'll see where it goes from there. CCJ's been good, but I've seen uranium kind of really pick up interest. So I'm going to be looking to, this week, kind of take some more profits out of this. Remember, this is a long-term position and play for me. So, excuse me, I keep burping. We were big here into this earnings. That's when we first set up options. Been taking out profits on these big run-up days. We keep getting these 6% days. And pretty much anytime we see a big move like that on a single day, I've been taking profits. And then when we get these pullbacks, I've been loading back up profits. It's been, a great trade. I expect it to continue to be a good trade. Although now that this is starting to feel really crowded, now that I'm hearing reports about people really starting to get really, what's the word I'm looking for? Really cultish in their positions, kind of like Bitcoin, kind of like the hardcore Bitcoin maximalists. It seems to be that type of culture is now developing uranium. So I'm getting a little more skittish. I don't like that. I like being a contrarian. When people start going bearish on oil, I was like, ooh, this feels good. I like that. That's when I set up those calls because the fundamentals are still there. The fundamentals are still here. But now that everyone's crowding in, I'm kind of worried about that. So while liquidity is getting good, we can see liquidity has been building up nicely. But now that more people are starting to get in tune to this, it's kind of like when you see your trade on the front page, it's probably time to get out, because when retail starts piling in, you want to use them as your exit. So that's what I'm kind of thinking there for that one. And that's kind of what's been majorly on my mind heading into this week. Remember, we've seen big sell-offs after these earnings. And don't forget about Thursday with Jerome Powell. That's going to be a big one. So I expect that to be very hawkish. I expect the global economy not to do well. It seems like that's already kind of how the talks are going. We talked about that earlier on the report. And I think that'll be it for this week. And stay in tune to the Discord. Conversation will always be developing. And I will say right now, right up front, that probably over the next month or even this week, we could see lots of big pivots. Okay? One headline could turn this market on a dime, whether that's more to the downside or more to the upside. On Friday, I made my prediction. I told you that by the end of this month, I expect this market to hit 420, but it could hit 450 beforehand. Even when I look at the futures where they're at, let's pull that back up real quick. Even when I look at these futures kind of gapping down like this, I still am telling you that this market could gap up to 450 before we see 420. And as for the lows coming into the summer, we're gonna blow past 400. Is my opinion, and we're gonna hit probably like 380. And I've been saying that since February. So, and I'm still unchanged from that. So that's where my head's at. That's where I'm kind of looking. Big indicators for me, continue. If you are a day trader, whether or not you're a day trader, keep TLT, TNX, keep an eye on these. These will be good indicators. I'm looking for the big turn in TLT. Sorry, I don't have it pulled up. I'm looking for the big turn in TLT. We have a long position on TLT that's been eating it. And I've had to pull back my allocation on this. But I'm thinking about loading back up, pushing out to September on calls. So when I set those up, you're going to have to be in the Discord, be a subscriber, become a contender, and to keep in tune to that. But if you want to hear the hindsight reports, that's what these are for. Of course, you can see my live trades and my decision making and ask me about it whenever you want if you're a subscriber. So that's what's going on. That's what my eye's on. I can't really think of anything else to report, so we're probably going to call it there. I hope you enjoyed this Sunday report. Remember, if you would like to get these in the future every Sunday night, check out the Substack or join the Discord and become a contender. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you. We got a few videos coming out this week. We have a few podcasts as well, so I'm going to see you a lot this week. Should be fun. And Tuesday will be a big video drop, and then Wednesday we should have another video drop. And yeah, so I've been busy with those. Had to delay our population, our new series again. But that will be coming out soon as well. Been lots of projects, but these will start to come to fruition soon, and I'm super excited about it. I'm pumped. Hope you are as well. And thanks for checking this out. Thanks for being a fan, a viewer. Thanks for being you. I'll see you next week.